What's cracking, me gente? You guys already know this. Your boy D once again coming to you guys, ready to share some love and a little bit of knowledge. As you guys can see, we'll have a special guest today. You guys might see him on his platform, but I'm gonna go ahead and let him introduce himself. What's going on, my brother?
What's up, dude? Yeah, name's Hector. I'm from that YouTube channel, That Prison Guard, and I resigned from the California Department of Corrections, dude. Almost 2 years ago, man. So
Almost 2 years ago, which
yeah,
some people could take it and say that's a blessing due to
oh,
the situations that are going on right now.
100%, man. I saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, a lot of people say the same thing, man. I talked to a lot of former inmates. This is my first time interviewing a former employee. I guess you can say the person that we used to go at it with in prison, what they told us was the enemy.
Right,
We come to find out later on that's not totally true, man.
right, for sure.
So first of all, I wanted to ask you: you resigned almost 2 years ago. Do you regret making that decision, or you left at peace with yourself?
I do not regret it at all, man. I left at peace with myself. It was a risk. It was a risk because I didn't know what it was gonna look like on the other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
but like I said, we saw the writing on the walls, and let's get into it. You, how many years do you work for the department?
total of 16, 1-6.
16 years, and before that, I get you were in the army as well, right?
Yeah, I was a youngster, dude. Went to the army at 17 and then found myself in Iraq when I was 19 years old.
In the middle of the war, do you saw action, or were you one of them one that just got to stay back?
It was I don't want to say the middle of the war, but it was definitely the beginning of the insurgency. You know, the guerrilla warfare, the roadside bombs, the car bombs, the RPGs, the ambushes. It got wild, dude. 2004 is when it kicked up.
Yeah,
Um,
so you can
and
say that you lost a lot of good friends in those wars.
I have I have the name of 9 friends tattooed on my back.
That you were close to.
They were all in my platoon at one time.
Okay, KIA, I'm guessing.
Killed in action, with the exception the last one committed suicide a few years back. He lived in Philadelphia. His name was Jeffrey King.
Okay, that's what a lot of people don't get, and that's what I also want to touch bases with you. That coming home from prison and doing a long-term bit like I did 15 years, we can almost compare the same PTSD as what you guys experience, and when you guys go to work, and you say that's fair and accurate
Well,
assessment.
that is 100% fair, accurate. I've done a lot of treatment. I've done a lot of research. I've done a lot of therapy, individual and in groups since the year 2010. You know, I've been on this journey. And one thing I noticed is trauma, man. It doesn't matter any kind of trauma, car accident, if you're a victim of a certain crime, prison, doing time in prison. And after even being, a correctional peace officer, now I see it how it affects everybody.
Yeah, that's one thing that you. So you can say that it affected your family when you took that job in CDC.
It did because it would make me quiet. Because as you know, a lot of CEOs, they're not going to be talking, right? They're not going to be talking at the podium. Hey man, how's your family? How's everything? Because we don't want the inmates to hear. We don't want them to overhear. They could use that against us. So the thing is I realized that when I would go to parties, family, gatherings, I would just be quiet. Kind of like weird, man. That's not even my style. That's not even my personality. But it changed me.
Yeah, a lot of you put a lot of walls to protect yourself and your family because, like you say, you don't want the emails to get the information because, as you know, emails manipulate any little information you can give them. I can sit there and talk to you and just shoot the breeze, and
Right.
you might slip up, say something, and now I have something that I can use against you.
Definitely.
I do want to ask you something. Like I said, I do have questions and curiosities about when you were working in the CDC, and I also want to discuss the different issues. Were you ever approached in any way or manner about conducting business with the inmates?
Twice in 16 years, twice. Right. One was on Bravo Yard, Centinela State Prison, Bravo Yard, level 3 GP. And I was walking across the yard, and this inmate said, "What's up with them cell phones, Farrell?" It was a black inmate, and I looked and I just laughed like, "Pff." And he goes, "Hey, it was worth the try." But and I just laughed like this fool. Either he being funny, I don't know what the fuck to do, throwing it out there. And then that one I don't really consider a real try, you know what I mean? But he did say that. The other one was on Charlie Yard, level 4 GP. I had a good spot in the clinic. You know, the clinic's a good spot, man. You can
Oh
chill.
yeah,
You can relax right there. And I had a porter, older OG black dude for sure, man. He's probably already paroled, with all the new laws and everything that happened. And I was on my cell phone. You're not as a CO, you're not supposed to have a cell phone inside a prison. It's contraband. But I was
yeah,
on my own cell phone, and then he had, hey, what kind of cell phone is that? So I'm already aware of like, he's kind of. And then he makes a comment, "Hey man, too bad you're not down with the business. There's a lot of money to be made." That pissed me off, dude. I take that as a sign of disrespect because in the same way, I'll never go up to an inmate and say like, "Hey, man, give me information. Who's bringing in dope? Who's doing this? Who's doing that?" So I don't want to sound like a badass or whatever, or because I'm not, but it upsetted me, and I opened the back door. You go to the back door in the
yeah,
back. There's a culinary, also the child that area,
yeah,
and I said, "What did you just say, man?" He's like, "Oh, nothing, nothing." I'm like, "Nah, I'm pretty fucking sure that you just said, too bad I'm not down with the business." And he's like, "No, no, I didn't say that." In other words, I was telling him like, "Hey, what's up, man? We're back here. If you want to handle it, we can handle it, but don't come at me like that."
yeah.
Uh, and,
So
and for the record, we shouldn't have been doing that. So anybody watching, don't do that.
yeah, yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I seen incidents like that. Like I
Right,
said, I was in a
right,
yard where a sergeant was known for taking off his
right.
patches and get
Yeah.
down. They get
But
repetitive,
hey,
but
but at the same time, man, I kind of felt. I mean, and I felt like that was the atmosphere. A level 4 GP. I felt I kind of felt like that. Those are kind of extreme measures that one probably has to take. If you know what you're doing, right? If you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna get in a wreck.
and that's another thing that I was gonna ask you. Were you ever put in a position where you felt like you have to, like a situation like that? You in a level 4 yard, an inmate approach you. Did you ever feel sometime? Was there ever any other situation where you were approached and you felt disrespect and you wanted to take it there? Was there ever a situation that you got in, put yourself into, or that somebody put you into that situation?
I'll tell this story right now. And again, none of this is to make me sound like hardcore because I'm not, dude. I'll let your audience know right now. I'm not hardcore, bro. It was just like, you know how it is. Sometimes you have to fake the funk.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Sometimes you have to kind of puff out your chest. I'm getting chills thinking about it to make others think that you're actually bigger than what you are.
yeah,
Um, it was Charlie Yard, Centinela, level 4 GP, level 4s, and probably Charlie 2 or Charlie 3. Working the floor. I think I was just covered release, so passing by, bouncing around. And dude, I normally did not trip I didn't trip on much, man. I'll be honest. But there was an inmate on the cell phone, There was an inmate on the payphone on A section. And I kind of knew that it wasn't his time or he wasn't signed up. And again, I never tripped. I don't know why I did it this time. And I was like, "Hey, that dude's not signed up." It was a Mexican dude, Sureño. Like, "Hey, that dude's not signed up." So we tell the partner, "Hey," I tell him, "Hey, get off the phone." I tells me like, "Hold on," or whatever. Taking forever. I was like, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna cut the phone off." Right. So I tell the control booth, "Hey, give him like 10 seconds to get off the phone. And then he didn't get off the phone. He clicked it. Well, he disconnected it. Well, that inmate's like, "Hey, you bitch, you bitch, you fucking bitch." Dude, and there was inmates on the day room. But at that time there was no day room, but there was porters out, there
yeah,
was Mac reps probably. And I'm looking around and I'm like, damn, fuck. So I tell the control booth officer, "Hey man, it was about to be yard recall." I said, "When everybody comes in, lock everybody up. And when I tell you to pop that cell, pop that cell." It was it was in the upper tier A section. It was like 204, 205, 206 area. And the porter, the Mexican dude, Sureño, he tells me like, "Hey, Farrell, that's my last name, Farrell. Hey, I don't recommend that you do that, man, because you have a hot head. He has a hot head. It's not going to end well." I said, "Hey, I said, Ortiz, lock it up." Like, all right. So he goes, locks it up, locks it up, locks it up. Oh, yeah, dude. This had to have been around 2008. 2008 was different.
yeah,
Um, and I took off my belt, put it on the podium, Cause I was mad, bro. The dude, he called me the B word in front of the front of the whole entire housing unit, dude, loud.
Yeah.
I couldn't let that slide. So like, ugh, my friend, I had a female partner. I had a female partner that I went to the academy with, and the control booth guy, he was on overtime from first watch into second watch, so he was tired, didn't want to do nothing. So my friend comes in doing the mail, passing out the mail bag, and I said, "Hey, dude, good thing you just came in just in time. Watch this." He's like, I said, "But don't do nothing." And I told everybody, do not hit your alarms, do not jump in. They're like looking at me. And I popped the door, or I told him pop the door, and the inmate opened it, looked out, and went like that to me. I said, get down here. He got down, and I was like in a bladed stance, man. I said, "Hey, you called me, the B word." No, I didn't do that, CO. I don't get down like that. I don't get down like that. I said, "No, I'm pretty sure you called me the B word." And he's like, "Nah, that ain't my style. I don't disrespect the cops, this and that." I'm like, I said, "We can handle this right now, dude." I said, "They're not gonna hit their alarm. They're not gonna jump in." Nah, nah, nah. He goes, "But can I ask you something?" I said, "What's up?" He's like, "Why are you barely approaching me right now? If that happened earlier." I said, "Look around, dude. It's just me and you. It's just me and you, man." And he's like, "Nah, I'm cool. I'm cool." He's like, "I was talking to my sister on the phone, and I was calling her the B word because she wouldn't come visit me." And I'm like, take it home, lock it up, dude. But, and I say that not because he was afraid of me, but because I would eventually do some research on the guy later. He was kind of a somebody, not at the top, but he was aspiring, he was a worker.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, dude, I'm just very glad we didn't end up fighting because I didn't plan what would happen all the way through.
True. Yeah. And then that was another situations that I want to ask, because I've been into situations where it's not the office. Let's say, for example, it's not you, but it's your partner they get into. And I have an example. It happened in Corker and CR BR when they made it a level 4 after they flipped it from AR to BR. Right, the CO went up to the cell of the homie and opened and walked in, rushed in, which is something that you guys usually don't do. You make him come out, you
Correct.
pat him down, and the usual protocol. But
Correct.
he went in there, and whatever he saw him doing drew his attention. But he went straight to the cell. Whatever he saw somebody slide him or whatever, why not? Because I wasn't there. We were on lockdown. We
Yeah.
were in a mandatory lockdown because that's when the whites had just killed somebody there. So we were in a 2 week lockdown, and we were only allowed to come out and serve food. So I was one of the porters, and there were the kitchen workers out there taking showers. So I was the type of guy that if I already did what I'm supposed to do and I'm not out there, I'm in my cell because I'm a cell warrior. I like to be in my
Yeah.
cell. I like to do my time peacefully.
Yeah.
Well, after everybody got in, I see there was only like two homies in the shower. So I asked them if they were gonna do anything else. They were like, "Nah, I'm gonna shower and go back home." They're tired. They wake up at 3 in the morning. So the issue that transpired was the officer went straight to the cell, and I guess he trying to manhandle the homie. That transpired from his celly to jump on the top bunk and
Damn.
kicked him, and with the kick pushed him all the way out.
Wow.
So the tower is not paying attention because he's opening somebody else's door and C section, and this is transpiring at the end of B section, like the first cells coming away from A section. So when he comes out flying out of the cell, he says something to the other officer around the sense like, "Come up and help me out." So we hear this, and the trace lights were open, so we had a good view because I was in C section. So I have a whole good view of it. I don't have no celly because I wasn't allowed. I was single cell. Well, they started chunking. The officer went back in there without waiting for his partner, and they started going at it with both homies. He was a youngster. He was like an army dude that just came home from the army, so he felt like I seen worse. Because I know some cops got that mentality that when they come from the army, they go and work in CDC. They have that mentality. I seen worse. You guys ain't shit,
Yeah.
which they can be wrongly mistaken because you're dealing with far away enemies instead of being face to face. And you and I both know that when you have it with somebody coming at you with a weapon, you, you can be frozen on time because you don't know what the next step is gonna be. Well, the problem that transpired was they dropped the officer, and the homie that was in the shower was running up because it's one jump, we all jump.
Right.
So when the officer was trying to get back up, the homie kicked him like he was kicking a soccer leg, and you seen his whole face just literally split and blood was coming out. And then the tower, he didn't have his the Big Bertha because he was, like I said, he was probably tired. That was already about to be count time anyways.
Damn.
So he run and pressed the alarm, opened the front door to get everybody else in, and he started shooting. But by the time they got there, I mean, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And I say this to say this. Sometimes it might not be you, it might be your partner, but you guys do the same thing. If one jump, you guys all jump. It's like a rule that's going to prison. You worked in level 4 yards. You seen like in 2008, 2009, 2010, a lot of things were taking place here. What was your main what was your main thing that you used to do to try to make sure you make it home back then the same day?
Just things that I would do, work out, like physical routine. At that time, I was doing Muay Thai. I was doing boxing in La Mesa at the boxing club, and I mean, I'm a realist. Going up 100 against 100 guys, you don't really stand a chance. But I was, taking those steps. Um, I was studying the inmates, studying the kites, the rules, the reglas, who's who, what's what. I was doing my homework. I was asking my fellow partners, hey, what's up with this dude? Who's that guy? Who's that? And that at that time, that's what we used to do as CEOs at that time. Now, oh no, it's not about that anymore. But I was doing that to put myself in a position of advantage, not disadvantage. Um, Worked on my communication skills, right? Because right now I'm 39. Back then I was 22. My communication skills were not as fine tuned as they are right now. Um, Not only that, dude. Before we started this episode, I told you that I have 13 years of sobriety now. The first 3 years of my career, I was drinking alcohol. I was suffering from post traumatic stress disorder. I was drinking alcohol, abusing alcohol. Um, so I did not have the emotional growth. I was not immature. I wasn't popping my mouth off at inmates. I had street smarts at the very minimum to keep me alive. You know what I mean? So I wasn't going to do nothing wild, nothing crazy. But I wasn't as good as when I was a lieutenant and resigned.
Were you ever put in a position when you were a sergeant or a lieutenant where you had to make a hard decision for either for the safety of your staff, or but that they were wrong and you had it to cover their ass because of their fuck up? Were you ever put in some positions like that?
Yeah, man. I like you. I like you, and I'm an honest guy. So yeah, dude. Yes.
And
Yeah.
and I say that because a lot of you guys like just like us, we get put in predicament sometimes, and that might not be us, but it might be somebody else. So
Correct.
it's kind of similar. You spoke about serving, basically working when the level fours were level fours.
Yeah.
So you seen pretty violent, gruesome stuff.
Hmm.
Were you ever in a riot in a situation where you felt like you wasn't gonna come out the best of yourself, or like you will have to do something really drastic to make sure that you got back home?
Luckily, no, because it was always inmate on inmates. The riots. I was never involved in a large scaled staff assault. Right. I've responded to numerous staff assaults, but that's just your regular and attempted murders on peace officers. But if you're talking about like large scale violence on a level 4 or level 3 at that time, no, dude, I actually felt good because I was young. I liked adrenaline. I was addicted to adrenaline. And it was between the inmates, between the blacks and the Mexicans. So, fuck, dude, there was this one time I was at Centinela on A yard. I was an AdSeg. I was an A5. And we weren't doing nothing in there. We had already got done feeding or showering, whatever. And we hear code 3 Alpha Yard. What the hell? Code 3 Alpha Yard? That's right outside. Code 3, big ass riot. So I asked the lieutenant, it was a female older lady, can I respond? because it wasn't in my post orders to respond. There's assigned cops that respond to the riots. And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, later. So as soon as we come out A5, me and my friends, we look, yeah, bro, everybody's fighting everywhere. In front of A1, in front of the chow hall, in front of the gym. So they were releasing for chow, dude. So the building one was getting released, the gym was getting released. So you had inmates fighting everywhere. And right in front of the chow hall, I see two sureños beating up a black dude. So when I run over there, man, and I run right up on them, I had a pepper spray in one hand and a baton in the other hand. Also, you're not supposed to do that. They don't teach us to do that. My female partner pepper sprayed me right in the eyes, dude. Me and my partner that were running with the MK9. So my eyes shut immediately. I'm sure you've been pepper sprayed before, dude.
Oh yeah, but
So they shut immediately, and I could feel the inmates fighting on my legs, dude. I could feel, and my eyes were shut. And I told myself, I'm about to get knocked out. I'm about to get messed up, dude. So I got my fingers and I opened up my eyes, and then I look. I could see one of my other partners was getting escorted to the clinic because he got pepper sprayed. And then I just, yelling at the inmates, get down, get down. Uh, at that point in time, I thought I was gonna get knocked out, dude, because I was in the mix with my eyes closed.
the when all this stuff took place, and now the difference between how it was back then to how it is now, do you think that the violence has escalated amongst inmates from this couple years since the so-called legends been out the shoe?
So, for me, my perspective, an accurate assessment, an accurate statement would be that the riots went down and the murders freaking went up,
So
like
yeah, the riots went down due to the peace treating
peace
around
treaty.
the peace treat the war, the internal hostility as they call it,
Correct,
right?
correct.
Do, do you know? You don't have to answer if I push you in a position, but do you know if it's true what's being said that CDC came into business with the most of these guys to come into a sort of agreement to let them out, but they had to give something back to CDC, which also being no staff assaults, no riots escalated. Is that true that they became in agreement with them?
maybe not a, maybe not a. Let me put it this way: Pelican Bay had a huge staff assault. You had I call them heavy hitters. You had a heavy hitter on the yard. That was Bravo yard. And well, if you pay attention to what's happening, the individuals that are starting these massive staff assaults, they're getting deemed no good. So it sent a message. Though that the blue side, the inmate side, the higher ups, they sent a message to their people. If you kick it off with the cops on this grand scale, that's a wrap for you. So whether that was a verbal agreement between the administration or the blue side, I think it's more so of like, hey man, we're showing you we're gonna do the right thing, but we're still gonna do our business. We still gotta do what we gotta do, but we're gonna try to do the right thing by the department. I think so. And that makes sense, bro. We ain't nobody trying to get fucked up.
I mean, yeah, and it's true. I mean, you got to look at it. I was in Centinela when the staff assault took place. From one of the staff calling one of the young homie, 19 years old kid. I know him from Hawaiian Garden. Dude was with the business.
Hmm.
He was going to his cell, but to the officer's liking, he was walking too slow.
Yeah.
So he pushed him and told him, "Get your motherfucking hands inside the house." So the homie turned around, took off, and then he got deemed behind him, put hands on the COs, and then afterwards it came knowledge if you put your hands on the CO, you're deemed no good. But behind that was also said you gotta take whatever disrespect they're dishing out of you. So if the CO's calling you a B word, that's disrespecting you, can't put your hands on. Which I think it was, at least for the troop, it was frowned upon
Yeah.
because it's like you guys show us a way, and then all of a sudden you guys are showing us a different way, which is conflict because it's like, what should we do? Somebody says go ahead, but some other dudes are saying no, stop.
You know what's funny is that the same thing that happened to the blue side has happened to the green side. Your higher ups say you don't, your guy, the inmates higher ups don't want you to put hands on the cops. Our higher ups don't want us to put hands on the inmates. So, and we get in trouble if we do, right? Even if it's per policy, even if it's by the book, and I know the book, I know the rules, man. I learned the rules, so that way, I could know how I can operate. And but if you ask me, dude, that created problems, right? Because prison is a violent place. It is, man. It doesn't matter. You can never make it unviolent. And I think there needs to be that force that keeps people in line. That, even though I don't agree with it, I kind of do, man. Um,
Yeah.
People act better. Look at a level 4 yard. Inmates are more respectful on a level 4 yard. Probably staff are more respectful on a level 4 yard. When you can get stabbed at any time, you tend to mind your P's and Q's.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That is true. I mean, level 4 yards, and that's what I most. Unfortunately for me, I did most of my time on the level fours, and the lowest I went down was a 270. But at the same time, I was grateful as well because the way I hear level twos and level threes were, it was just off the chain. So I always wanted to just, I rather just stay somewhere where I can know I can program than go down
Yeah.
a circus row and come back and catch another life case.
Hey, you think level 2 and level 3 is wild. What you see like a freaking SNY EOP level 4. Oh my god, dude, it's like Skid Row. These are crazy people, dude.
So for the people that's out there that might not know the difference between, or like sometimes the agreement that comes between the cops, and I would say the agreements become between the cops and the inmates because I seen it done myself, where they don't want to do no paperwork. So if one of the inmates got something coming outside stabbing him and that he can get DP, were allowing inmates to go into the cells and to handle their business as long as the person was not put in a position where he was a death or life situation where he was stabbed. Do you agree with what they were doing?
One time, the young officer at Centinela on the minimum yard, level 1, and I was third watch, so I show up at 2 p.m. And I show up and they tell me, hey, man, there was an inmate that was caught smoking, caught with tobacco. He took off running on the sergeant. He was talking shit to the sergeant. Um, so third watch, that's going to get handled. This is my partner's telling me, and I'm like, okay. So then, chow time, as a dorm, you release a dorm. Two inmates came up to me and they're like, hey, we're gonna need 3 trays, three laying trays. We're not gonna go to chow. And I'm like, all right. So we gave them the 3 trays and I stepped outside and yeah, dude, that got handled. Like I said, my partners told me the inmates knew what time it was. Like when I came in after chow was done, I was doing my count and the inmate had a beanie on. But dude, the beanie was out to here, man. His head was swollen. But yeah, they checked him.
Yeah, I mean, I get those parts, like right, because
Right.
it looks bad on you. Take off, you front everybody off, you from the whole house off.
Yeah.
Take off, and let's say you take off and you slice something in the homie cell, and the homie has something else
Oh
more
yeah.
earthy, and then now you put that cell in a predicament where it's not supposed to be on. So that's I get it,
Right.
but let's say for drug debts, there was a lot of drug debts being handled in the mop closet in the Centinela BR when we
Um.
first opened up BR. The breaking of fingers, the beating
So
inmates with cups. How was that
so
for
when
you?
you talk about stuff like that, man, when you talk about stuff like that, and there are level to the game,
Yeah,
I'm not personally going to allow inmates to execute their politics on each other. Right? I would rather not know, first of all, because if I know about it, that changes the game, man. To me, Um, there's been times where 2 inmates have been drunk and they ask if they can fight. Well, fuck, man, I'm gonna go over here then, and then they'll go fight behind. But yeah, there's levels to the game. I will never, personally, I will never open up a cell door to give access to another inmate to fuck them up. Fuck no. If that's kind of what you're referring to. Will I give them a
yeah,
pass? Nah. Will I aid them? Fuck no. I'm not gonna aid them. Hell nah.
because it was, and I say this, it was happening
I
because
know. I know it does.
it was fortunately I was part of some of those
Right.
taking places where we were. I was a Yorker in Santanella, so I was even allowed to go to other buildings and
Yeah.
handle things within amongst our own cars, within the Mass 13 car, we something to happen, and I would be the first ones to raise my hand because I was not allowing other people to touch my homeboys because I felt some type of way about that.
Yeah.
So that's why I said there
It's
were officers that were known for allowing to pop the
uh,
doors and allowing inmates to come in
um,
and
so every single officer is different,
yes,
personality wise.
yes,
And you're right, they all have different styles. Some do illegal things, flat out illegal things. Some do that, which is now you're pushing that line. You know what I mean? You're more this way. So let's talk about bringing in contraband over here and the square by the book over here, right? To me, once you start, me personally, I never went past a certain point, man, because I'm not gonna do that. You know what I mean? Integrity. It's called integrity. But yeah,
now
there's motherfuckers that don't give a fuck and will straight do some wild shit.
yeah. Now here's one case that I seen you talk and I seen other YouTubers talked about. I had never discussed it myself because I didn't know much of the details until recently. Here's a perfect example. Pinel, Joey Pinel.
Yeah.
That case got so many headlines because it was supposedly known that the sergeants and everybody in the prison knew that that hit was coming and they allowed him to step on the yard. With that type of information, does it travel down to the officers or does it stay within the higher ups or you guys lieutenants and sergeants?
The officers find out about it, right? And they will tell the sergeant because the officers are good at their jobs. They know who's who, they know what's what, they know which inmates are which. And luckily, I was a lieutenant. They would say, "Hey, lieutenant, there's a guy coming to this yard and he has R's on his jacket. He has this offense, this bad offense, this bad offense, this bad offense." And I'll look and I'm like, "Oh man, that has to be a mistake. What the hell? That guy cannot land here. They're gonna kill him." And I'll tell the captain, "Hey, Cap, just so you know, there's a dude right here." And then the captain's like, "Oh no, no, he's good. He's good. He got endorsed here. They got endorsed by a committee." And I'm like, "Nah, man, yeah, he ain't good." But that's what was happening. So the officers were catching it, and the captains, and this is why I quit, man. I expose it a lot. The, they were fostering this. They were enabling this. They were creating this. They were putting people that shouldn't have been. I mean, the badass Snoop alleged murder in Donovan recently.
Yeah,
Those were two documented enemies. Two
yeah,
documented enemies on paper. How did they end up on the same yard? How, dude? How? And the CO can't stop that, right? Because once he's endorsed, once he's on a bus, who's gonna stop that? It got blessed. If you ask me, it got blessed by the wardens. Think about it. When you transfer somebody, it's getting signed off by wardens to wardens, committees where you got, ADSIG or whatever. So, dude, that to me is illegal, criminal like.
yeah. And there's no repercussion because that like you say is documented. And for people to know is when you fight somebody 2-on-1 or when you remove somebody, you instantly get put on their enemy list. Documentation gets there that you got to stay away from them. Even if you don't know there got some unknown, basically I can be a stay away from other people. I might have to stay away from somebody I don't even know, but
Right.
he might have wrote a guy saying I can be in the yard with this guy because I owe him whatever the reason.
Easily.
But this paper will already be in the documented on our C files.
Right.
So which is strange because they allow him to come into the yard to come out and program with the dude and
So so
the
I know all the backstory behind that Pinnell murder. I've talked to correctional OG cops that were there that started in the 90s, late 80s. And I know who was responsible for allowing that. The guy, his name is Joseph Stewart. At the time, he was a captain at the time. Right now, he's higher up in rank. He's in headquarters. Everybody told him, the COs told him, "Don't put this inmate here. They're gonna kill him." He's like, "Nah, nah. The whites promised me they're gonna go to school, they're gonna get rehabilitated," and they're like, "Don't put him here, man." And they put him there, and he got killed. They actually told the captain, "Put him on this yard instead. Put him on this yard. There's not that many hitters on this yard. It's a little softer. His chances may be better, but you don't want to put him on this yard." And they what did they say? Within a day or 2 days, they got him. With like in the
two
next day.
days, 2 days, 2 days after
Yeah.
he was dead.
Um, and what do? They promote that guy. That's why it's corruption.
And that was another thing. So how you feel now that the CDC is trying to
Let's
implement this? What's it called? The Norway program stupidity.
let
They're doing?
let's talk about the chairs where that inmate got murdered in CSP sack on the chairs,
There we go.
shackled.
Shackled to the ground, didn't have a fighting chance, and there was documentation and there was already video of them doing a try run, and then they trying to blame it on the CEOs, saying that the CEO paid them to do that hit,
Right.
and then the CEO died, and then but now nobody wants to talk about it. So I
Mhm.
saw the videos and I saw the documentation. I read the report when the sergeant was interviewing.
Yeah.
That I was gonna talk about it because that the whole thing was sent to me in a big old file. The reason why I didn't talk about it because I was told there was still two officers involved,
Right.
that they were still trying to fight their case, that were trying to go through the motions. I didn't want to just throw them under a bus because to me everybody deserves a chance. If you say
Right.
you didn't know nothing about it, I'm still gonna give you a first shake, whether you're an officer or not. To the end
Right.
of the day, you're a man. But I felt that the institution knew about that incident. They try to cover it up. Dude got killed. There was another incident that happened in Donovan. They said the dude got beat up in the morning. By the afternoon, he was back. They stabbed him in the morning.
I was there for that.
They stabbed him in the morning, and in the afternoon they put him back in there, and then
They
they try to stab him again.
they life flighted him. I was there
Yeah,
for that.
and
I did a double. That was Donovan. I know that
yes,
inmate's name. I know that inmate's name too. His AKA. It's in my head. Um, they stabbed him. Not Charlie Yard. They stabbed him on third watch,
yes,
and I was working third watch, but I also was doing swaps. So I was working first watch. I was doing a double. I used to do doubles. So I was the OP sergeant, meaning the guy that drives around in the truck around the prison. So they called the helicopter to medevac him. So I had to go to the sally port, the vehicle sally port, identify the inmate, make sure it was him, go to the helicopter landing pad, open the gate, turn on the light so the helicopter could land out there by the gatehouse, and then they took him. Well, since I stayed for first watch, that inmate came back from the hospital and they housed him back onto Charlie Yard. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, time out. This dude just got stabbed off this. This dude just got flown off the yard. Like, he can't come back here. And they're like, nah, he's not placed in ADSEG. There was an ADSEG lockup order, but they voided it. And I'm like, nah, dude, like something that's not right. It doesn't make sense. Why? How can somebody get stabbed, flown out, and go back to the same pad? So I had to call some people, and I think I even called the AOD, the manager, the administrator, and told him the whole situation. I said, "Hey, sir, it's in your best interest to put this dude in the hole. Like, we need to put this dude in the hole because if he gets fucking stabbed, we're done. You know what I mean? Because then it becomes falls on us. How do you explain that?
yeah. So, were you ever put in a position where you have to do something like that, and the manager just told you to stand down, and you had it to stand down, but you knowing deep down that that was not the right call?
I was part of the integrations, integrating SNYs and GPs on the minimum yard. Donovan. I was a lieutenant, but I was on the crisis response team. So the SWAT team.
Yeah,
So I had the 40 millimeter. You guys call it the Big Bertha,
yeah,
and two dorms. We probably had like 13 inmates on one side, another 13 on this side, two lines, and we were waiting, bro. It was like fucking like that's kind of scandalous that we were hiding and waiting in the visiting for them to crack off code 3 so we can go in there and fuck them up. Like that was the truth. Um, We go in, they walk, hey, you hear it on the radio. Yeah, I mean, you know what's gonna happen. Code three, dorm. Oh, I forgot what it was. Housing unit, fuck, 25 or something. I can't even remember, dude. Housing unit 21, housing unit 22, code 3. We go in there. Yeah, dude. I remember it was one GP inmate, and he got swarmed by like 8 or 9. At the time, they were SNY type. He's holding his own, and I'm fucking shooting dudes. I'm shooting, the SNY guys because they're outnumbering this one guy. Shooting. We put zip cuffs, flex cuffs on him, and then we start escorting them outside, just like a normal riot. Start separating them. I'm thinking they're going to the hole. I'm thinking it's a normal riot. And then when they're out there, they tell the inmates, check this out. We're going to take off these handcuffs and we're going to walk you back in and we're going to keep doing this all night long until you guys get tired of fighting. And that's when me and my friend looked and we're like, what the fuck did they just say? Nah, like what's happening right now? Because that was new to us, right? We didn't know that the state was going to do that. So we're experiencing it. We were probably, I think